Hello.
People can change the world. They certainly changed mine. Brady came along 15 years ago. He was barely a year old when we started to notice his development was different, slow, even regressing. Soon after, diagnosed with autism, and that led to what will be a lifelong journey. A couple years later, Tyler arrived, following that same journey. Millions of parents have been where I was, lost, wondering where to go for help. So we decided to share that process here. We created the Autism Puzzle, and over the past dozen years, we've met hundreds of families, documenting their unique lives. We've helped raise millions of dollars to support people on the spectrum, and we've watched them grow up, maybe a little too fast. But the spectrum ranges broadly, and the disorder remains rather mysterious. So tonight, we return with the latest piece of the Autism Puzzle. It is a disorder which affects families of all backgrounds, and the rise of autism diagnoses has steadily increased over the past 15 years. In 2007, 1 in 150 children were diagnosed. Today, the Centers for Disease Control reports 1 in 54 children qualify for a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. ASD is a developmental disability in the brain. Scientists do not know a specific cause. People with ASD may develop language delays, poor social skills, obsessive or compulsive behaviors. Some people can function independently, while others require lifelong support. And tonight we have assembled a group of professionals to take your questions about autism. I want you to give them a call, 844-442-2554, to speak to an expert from the Learning Spectrum, Autism Society of Central Ohio, Bridgeway Academy, and Autism Speaks. Again, that's 844-442-2554. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. I'm Jared Smalley. A year ago, this show did not air as scheduled. You know why. The same reason many of our lives were so severely affected over the past year. COVID-19 was and remains a massive challenge. And for people with autism spectrum disorder, those challenges were amplified in virtually every aspect of their lives. Some families found unique paths to get through.
I still felt the same. Just knowing a bit more about myself, it felt a little nice to know.
What? You love mine?
It had already been an eventful 2 years for the Atkinson family. They moved from West Virginia to Columbus to seek out new resources for their son, Jesse, who was recently diagnosed with autism, dyslexia, and ADHD. He was 12 at the time. The family moved in, and shortly thereafter, so did the pandemic.
I mean, it was a big adjustment for all of us to be home all at the same time, all day, 7 days a week.
I think it actually brought us closer together.
That meant adjustments. Ashley Atkinson documented those changes via a video blog on YouTube. It started with learning from home.
What does letter mean?
A letter is a letter in the alphabet, or a letter like you send a letter.
So it was a lot of distractions, and then of course lots of reminders from us of you're in class. Look, pay attention to your class.
The teacher can't really see. She has to or he or she has to look on to the electronic that they're using and see if you're raising your hand or something like that.
And that led to frustrations.
Want to get this done and over with? I understand that feeling.
But some pandemic changes were adopted somewhat quickly, like mask wearing.
Because we have them hanging by our door, and so whenever we go, he just grabs it.
And he tells us, he's like, did you get your mask? Yeah. It was very important for us to demonstrate it and do it in a way of, this isn't a big deal. This is, it's different, but it's just like you have to wear a shirt, you have to wear a mask. Yeah. This is what you do.
It took months, and really we're all still adjusting to life at a distance. But the Atkinsons say the time brought them closer together. And for Jesse, he's thriving.
It's still the same child as before the diagnosis. They don't change. It's still the same person that they were a week before they got diagnosed.
His performance at school has greatly improved.
His self-confidence.
Yeah.
People can adjust, but it's really hard to. Once you adjust, it becomes a part of your life.
As you saw, they're teaching children with autism and other developmental disabilities. That takes a special type of person and commitment, but no one was prepared for how learning would evolve in 2020. Teaching students with ASD virtually quickly became a massive problem, and like always, teachers were ready to solve it. At schools like Bridgeway Academy in Columbus, teachers were forced to adapt their lesson plans to Zoom sessions or other virtual settings. And because every child learns differently, some teachers needed to create a different plan for every student. Some kids struggled without the in-person interaction, while some have excelled. On top of that, parents had to learn the new virtual methods to assist their children. So it truly did take a village.
These students have learned so much about technology, and that is a huge life skill, right? Like just about any job that you can think of is going to incorporate technology in some way. I can say, all right, you're doing a great job. Present your screen so I can see it for a second. And it takes them that long to get their screen presented, and I can help them through an assignment. And they can navigate the technological world so much quicker because they've had to do it. So I think that that's a huge advantage to this. There are a lot of cons, but there are a lot of pros.
Now, even before the pandemic, an Ohio agency was among the leaders in developing virtual methods of education to assist people on the spectrum. And during the pandemic, Ocali made their online training modules free. They're called ASD Strategies in Action, designed to assist parents and professionals in the support, education, and even workplace training for people on the spectrum. In the past 2 years, more than 70,000 people have subscribed to Ocali's modules for training.
We had national groups that came together. These are all professors who came into a room and they put all the most evidence-based practices into it. And then what took the most time is we stripped out all of the ivory tower language to make sure that a grandparent and a parent could understand the strategies with common language. And you can learn about those training modules at autismcertificationcenter.org. You know, inclusion and opportunity can lead to life-changing results. At Olentangy High School this year, their students and staff saw it firsthand. Our Whitney Harding shares the story of a wrestler and a will to win.
18-year-old Stephen Atkins is like every person who has autism. He carries his own unique set of challenges.
The old saying is when you've met one autistic student, you've met one autistic student.
I might get confused with some stuff, like I might have to have repeats with some things. I'm still into that improvement stage.
For Stephen, that means pushing himself to try new things. He's played sports in the past, participating in Special Olympics, but the schedule didn't work out, and being inactive eventually took a toll on his body. Going into his junior year, Stephen weighed almost 360 pounds. So he decided to tackle physical improvement by taking up wrestling.
Those kind of kids thrive with it because it gives them something to be motivated for, something to look forward to, and it gives them a sense of purpose. There's a weight limit in high school, and his main goal was to get down to that so we can get him a match at the end of the year, which we did.
By the time Stephen made varsity squad as a senior, he'd lost about 100 pounds, and the strength he'd gained went far beyond the mat.
And everything was in his power, and I think it's helped his confidence level.
He's, an advocate for himself, which wasn't always the case, but he's really become an advocate for himself and stands up for himself and stands up for his friends and peers as well, which has been an amazing thing to see.
It helps me interact with other people, even the opponent's team as well. I mean, just believe in yourself, have the confidence to go out there and go put a show on.
What is maybe something that people who don't know you, that you want them to know about you?
I'm senior in Olentangy. I'm always the kind person that you like to see. Kindness is always my thing.
Ahead tonight, the organization which teaches kids life skills and the remarkable way they adapted their mission through the pandemic. Plus, a genetic study based in Columbus aiming to present to the world a new understanding of autism, and the local girl who created a new virtual method to help people with autism develop their social skills. All ahead on the Autism Puzzle. And a reminder, we have experts on the phone lines tonight to answer your questions about autism. 844-442-2554 is the number to call. Welcome back. Thousands of Central Ohio kids have made a trip to Lifetown over the years, a unique facility in New Albany which teaches kids of all abilities about real-world skills, how traffic works, how money works. But over the past year, very little of society worked as it should. So the people at Lifetown found a creative solution. Here's NBC4's Audrey Hassan.
Our students need to grow in their journey towards independence.
Rabbi Arieh Kaltman and his wife Esther have dedicated their lives to empowering children with special needs. At Lifetown, students learn crucial life skills on that journey.
For our students with autism, they definitely thrive on the social interactions. They thrive on the tactile activities. And that was really something that we wanted to make sure that they didn't have a gap in their learning throughout this pandemic.
Social interactions came to an abrupt stop over the last year, so the Kaltmans got creative.
We felt that it is our obligation to think out of the box and to bring Lifetown to them.
Enter Lifetown on the Go, a mobile version of activities from Lifetown venues packed inside a box and delivered right to each child's doorstep.
And then the teachers were able to go online with the students with all their activities, with all their supplies and their crafts and all the things that they would normally do at Lifetown. And then we did the lesson in their homes.
1, 2, 3.
It was a very hard pill to swallow because I'm like, okay, now where do I go from here?
As a single mom, it's a question Jasmine Hansel asks daily as she navigates raising two sons diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder.
DJ is starting to do sentences.
You ready? Taking a picture. Action. My name's DJ.
He never did that before, and Tommy actually used some sentences today that we never knew he could speak.
Tom, say duck, duck. Good job.
Progress she's seen from their occupational and physical therapy sessions.
They told me Tommy would never speak, never walk, and he's walking and talking, so yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Before the pandemic, DJ and Tommy enjoyed spending time at Lifetown, learning skills about spending and saving money.
That's definitely very, very important for them to learn, because I think the more they learn about it, the more they understand that you have to save before you can do things and go places.
And since they haven't been able to go to many places, the activities included in their Lifetown on the Go box keeps them engaged in virtual learning.
They did really well, though. For that hour that we came on with Lifetown, they loved it. They loved doing things, being able to pick where they wanted to go, things like that.
The Lifetown on the Go boxes get delivered to families once a month, and the Kaltmans look forward to the day all students can return to their indoor city.
We definitely look forward to welcoming our students back here safely and happily.
Say bye.
Bye.
Coming up, a genetic study underway in Columbus aiming to reveal some of the medical mysteries of autism.
If you decide not to say anything, then a blue sad emoji appears and a message says, next time call for the ball.
Teaching social skills? There's an app for that, and she created it. Plus a remarkable story, how a man in his 50s discovered he was on the autism spectrum and how that diagnosis has opened his eyes. All ahead on the Autism Puzzle. 844-442-2554 is the number you can call right now to speak to one of our experts about autism, from questions about diagnosis to IEPs and support. 844-442-2554. Give us a call. Well, Friday was World Autism Awareness Day, and in Columbus, several landmark buildings downtown were lit up blue to promote autism awareness. And it's part of the evolution of the discussion about autism from awareness into acceptance and inclusion. And that's a part of the goal for the annual Autism Speaks Walk. This year, the walk intends to return to an in-person event at Columbus Commons, scheduled for Sunday, October 10th. Registration is already open. You can learn more at autismspeakswalk.org. At Nationwide Children's Hospital and around the world, studies are underway to learn more about the genetic makeup of autism and what causes it, and what those genetics can teach us. A study called SPARK stands among the most important genetic research projects in the world focused on autism. They're currently halfway toward their goal of 50,000 participants who can submit their DNA and contribute toward an eye-opening project.
What we've just seen in the last year in terms of vaccine development, how rapidly that happened when a lot of smart people put their minds to a significant health problem. Here we are in Spark also wanting to put a whole bunch of smart people, including the families that decide to participate in Spark, on the same page in terms of trying to answer this big, important question. You know, what is autism, what causes it, and what can we do to help?
And if you and your family would like to participate in that study, it's easy. Log on to Spark at autism.org, spark4autism.org, and there you can follow the step-by-step process to join that study completely free for families to join. Again, Spark for autism.org. She's 13 years old, and Christina Ma is already under par in life. Just yesterday, she competed in the National Drive, Chip, and Putt competition at Augusta National Golf Club, home of the Masters. An incredible opportunity. Her maturity sets her apart, and her empathy led to an innovation which someday might change lives.
Every single time I play, every round is not going to be the same.
No defense, no teammates, just a club and a ball and a mind. Golf's a socially distant sport.
Golf is a puzzle.
And maybe Christina Ma understands missing pieces better than most. And that understanding prompted innovation.
I have a family friend, and I went to his birthday party one time, and he has autism, by the way. And I went to his birthday party one time, and I was sad to see that he didn't have he only had one friend there, and it was very sad. And it was also an eye-opening experience. And I found out that children with autism, they might have a hard time making friends.
Christina also takes part in the Girls Who Code program, so she understands technology like apps. Her idea to create a new app to support people with autism, focusing on social skills. Christina, her brother, and another friend collaborated to create this.
Sociomoshi, helping children with autism reach their full potential.
The prototype for an app to help young people on the spectrum navigate social situations.
What would you do if you're playing soccer outside with classmates? Would you A, steal the ball, B, do and say nothing, or C, call for the ball? Remember, one answer is always better than the other two.
If you choose steal the ball, then the game shows a red angry emoji and a message appears saying I'm sorry.
I spoke with some children with autism and their parents. I spoke with special education teachers, speech pathologists, and I also learned from the Autism Society of Central Ohio that children with autism, they like predictable routines. They like routines in their day. And so I wanted to create something that would be familiar to them.
Their app won numerous industry awards and a first place award in Ohio's 12th district for the Congressional App Challenge. Now Christina and her partners are working through the process to try to make the app available to the public.
I will never truly understand what it will be like, but if I help them a little, it makes me feel a little better, and hopefully it'll help them a little more.
Coming up next.
I'm still me. I'm still the same person I've always been, but I have a framework in which to understand who I am.
A man with an incredible life story. A man who did not know he had autism until he was in his mid-50s. You'll find out how that diagnosis shaped his life and his goals. And from identification and diagnosis to treatment plans and employment, our phone bank is open, ready to answer those questions. Staffers volunteering for us from Autism Speaks, Learning Spectrum, Central Ohio Autism Society, Bridgeway Academy, Autism Speaks, all available. 844-442-2554. For 20 years, he was an exemplary music teacher for Columbus City schools. When the pandemic hit, that's when the music died. Phil Adams quit his job, and at times he thought he was going crazy. His camera, his courage, and a diagnosis has brought his life, maybe for the first time, into focus. Here's NBC4's Brad Johansson.
Do you know this man? Some guy walking south side alleys early in the morning?
Go out on walks with my camera. I naturally gravitated towards places where there were no people.
But people saw him taking pictures of garbage. He was sketchy, suspicious. Police were called, so a friend put up flyers to help.
This guy's not dangerous. He does beautiful work. Don't call the police.
He's your neighbor.
Don't, yes.
And what catches Phil Adams' eye is what you throw away.
And I started noticing things as I started walking. And I just took pictures of all the things that I noticed.
Battling depression all his life, virtual school was just too much. He resigned as one of the music teachers for Columbus schools in September.
In the end, I felt like I needed to make a decision to preserve my own mental health.
And at the urging of a friend, saw a doctor. So at 56 years old, you were diagnosed as autistic.
I was, after a 4-hour assessment.
And what has that changed?
Well, in some ways, it hasn't changed a lot. I'm still me. I'm still the same person I've always been. Anything that's a cap that's on the pavement or a cover is really interesting to me.
A piece of metal with peeling paint, a fence hanging on by half a nail.
Recognizing the beauty in things that are overlooked or discarded or ignored.
Because that's how he felt.
The alleys are places where I would end up. You know, they're in between places, they're liminal places. Alleys are places that are no places.
Finding his place. It took 5 decades.
Everyone has value, and in some way, this resonates with me in wanting to express that message to the world.
What's a picture worth?
Sometimes you can't put words to your experience, but trying is a step in the right direction.
Do you know this man? He's a lot like you and me.
Even in difficult circumstances, you can find beauty, especially in the ordinary and in the everyday.
Sounds like it's given you hope.
I think it has.
And if you'd like to see some of Phil's remarkable work, he has posted those images on Instagram. You can follow him at Phil64justlooking. Thanks again to all our partners who have helped make the Autism Puzzle a reality for all these years. And if you want to see any of the stories again, you can watch in its entirety at NBC4i.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.